All right, everyone, thanks so much for joining. We're going to go ahead and get started. Today, we have a great lineup for you. We're going to be talking about how apparel brands are enhancing their digital and in-store shopping experience. Just a quick agenda. We're going to begin with BigCommerce, SaaS e-commerce leader. We're going to go into meeting Threekit, a 3D platform, and CGS is going to cover Blue Cherry. And then you'll all want to stick around, and we're going to be demoing a few pieces of apparel in the 3D platform. If there are any questions, please feel free to write the questions in the Q&A box, and we will be sending the recording after the webinar. And we have a great lineup of speakers today. I just want to send a quick thank you to all three of them for taking the time out of their day to speak with us. We have Hillary from Threekit, Head of Product Marketing, Ali, VP of Enterprise Sales at BigCommerce, and Paul unfortunately couldn't make it today, but we have a great substitute. Charles, VP of Emerging Technology, will be joining us today to talk on the CGS side. So thank you, Charles, for hopping on last minute. And with that, I want to hand it over to Ali at BigCommerce to get us started.
Hey, everyone. Thanks. Glad to be here today. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about BigCommerce and then segue into talking about experience. BigCommerce is one of the largest SaaS players out there in the market, and we are the open SaaS platform for all stages of merchant growth. And a little later, we'll talk about what open SaaS means. There's a snapshot of a few of our customers. Some of them you likely know. We were founded in 2009. We recently went public under the ticker Big C. You can find us listed on the NASDAQ. We focus on established brands. So different than some of our competitors, we're looking at established brands, and we serve tens of thousands of brands around the world. One of the things that makes us unique is we can serve both B2C and B2B e-commerce on the same platform. And we go to market with a very partner-centric approach. We're very partner-friendly, we're open, and have hundreds of partners in our ecosystem that have apps in our marketplace, as well as thousands of implementation partners that can launch and deploy BigCommerce. And we do all of this with an industry-leading total cost of ownership. So a few stats to kick off the conversation here. We find that 73, and these stats come from both PwC and Forrester, roughly 73% of shoppers today say that the experience matters, or it's a decision factor that they use when they're evaluating a brand. 77% have chosen, paid more, or referred a brand that offers a better experience. And last but not least, 57% of shoppers have stopped buying from a merchant because a competitor offered a better experience. So what does this mean? The experience matters. Your customer experience matters and is key. Next slide, please. But how can brands compete on experience if they're fighting their technology? So we see this every day. We work with a lot of different merchants, and it's a common complaint that it's not easy to make updates to content, to make updates to changes in product or their catalog. They can't quickly add new functionality. Something such as Threekit, if they wanted to take advantage of it, could be a lengthy implementation or integration process. And it's difficult to maybe take advantage of new payment methods or marketing solutions that are out in the marketplace. So if you're fighting your technology, you're handicapped at being able to compete in this market. And we all know that e-commerce is an evolving marketplace where your customers' expectations are changing, and you really need to be able to stay ahead of them and not fight your technology. With that, I want to tell you a little story about one of our customers, Woolrich. So Woolrich was founded by John Rich in 1830. He immigrated from England to the United States and started his wool mill. And at that time, he was going to local lumber yards and camps and farms and selling his wool fabrics. Around the turn of the 20th century, he started Woolrich and began producing wool shirts, pants, jackets, and caps. And his business took off. Around 2000, Woolrich launched their first e-commerce store and first print catalog. So they really got into the e-commerce space fairly early at that time. If you fast forward about 18 years, right around 2018, Woolrich was faced with the decision of staying on their current platform, which is an Oracle ATG-based platform, or moving to a new one. And part of the reason they were looking at making a change was the platform they were on was complex and difficult to manage. They couldn't easily make changes to the site, and they were fighting their technology. They couldn't stay ahead. So fast forward to the next slide, please, if you will. Woolrich launched on BigCommerce, And since then, they've enjoyed tremendous gains, a 60% reduction in total cost of ownership, an 18% increase in conversion rate, and a 22% increase in revenue. And I love this quote here by Kent Balder, Senior Web Operations Specialist that helped throughout the migration process. We really wanted to be able to focus our time on selling our product as opposed to building, maintaining, monitoring, and troubleshooting a web platform. In other words, they no longer had to fight their technology, and we've already talked about some of the results that they were able to experience. So what kind of helps unlock this? And if you could click forward to the next slide, please, is something that we call open SaaS. And this is a differentiator for BigCommerce. If you think about traditional e-commerce platforms, they were usually open source or on-premise, and that allowed for the most amount of flexibility, but also you had to maintain and monitor and keep up with that technology and deal with a lot of code. You couldn't really focus necessarily on your core business. You had to focus on your business and the technology at the same time. On the other end of the spectrum are cloud-based, typical multi-tenant SaaS platforms that take away the operations side of that. However, they're usually restricted. They don't easily integrate with other platforms. It may be difficult to create customizations or do things like B2C and B2B on the same platform. With BigCommerce, we are open, and that's the term open SaaS that we've coined in the market. We give you the flexibility of an open source or on-premise platform with the beauty, scalability, and maintenance-free nature of a SaaS platform. So if there's anything you take away, BigCommerce is very open, not quite as flexible as the on-prem, but much more flexible than a traditional SaaS platform. And what this enables us to do is easily partner with folks like Threekit and CGS. In the middle, you'll see these are all the major components that BigCommerce handles. It's the core e-commerce components. In addition to that, we have our own presentation layer or web store. You can use that, or you could deploy in a headless fashion. And we provide our own content management system, and we'll show our drop and drag page editor, page builder a little later in the demonstration. But we've got pre-built integrations to Threekit and CGS. And just a little preview of what you'll see in the demo. Page Builder, again, is our drop and drag content editor. We have an integration pre-baked with Threekit where we have a widget where you can easily drop and drag 3D immersive experiences right into a BigCommerce content page. And with that, I'm going to pass this over to Hillary to tell you a little bit more about Threekit.
Thanks so much, Ollie. That was great. And I love all the emphasis on experience and the importance of experience, because that's something we believe really deeply here at Threekit. So hi, we're Threekit. We do 3D virtual photography product visualization, and really love partnering with great e-commerce platforms like BigCommerce. Our roots go back all the way back to Hollywood, actually. Our founder, Ben Houston, got his start in Hollywood and wanted to kind of carry that practice to the commerce space. And when something called WebGL came along in 2016, that made it possible. And now Threekit is kind of the visualization leader in this arena. Next slide. And kind of the root of what we do is this belief that buying is visual. We know that people buy with their eyes, and what the platform allows businesses to do is to bring together your commercial side, your marketers, your merchandisers, and help them collaborate with the creative side of your businesses. So those designers and 3D artists bring it all together on one platform and make it really accessible, easy to do really beautiful visuals at scale. This is all based on data, and Ali went over some data about experience being important up front. We know that visual experience is especially important. So we've seen that retailers report they get 11 times more likelihood to purchase on their sites when they institute something like augmented reality, which allows people to put products in their space, see if they fit, see if it's really what they're looking for. We also know that the expectations around just the sheer volume of visuals that customers expect when they come to a product site has gone up exponentially, even in the past 5 years. So in 2016, a shopper expected to see about 3 visuals, 3 product images on a page. That's gone up to about 8 visuals by 2019, and it's probably gone up even more by then. So being able to operate with visuals at scale has become really critical to business success. We work with a lot of apparel brands, and we understand, the challenges that are really specific to working in this industry. First of all, when it comes to e-commerce, conveying the quality with the visual fidelity that's necessary for people to see the fabric, to see patterns, to see how clothing lays, to get an idea of, will it fit, to get an idea of quality. Visuals are really, really critical in that area. Also, from a customer service standpoint, and particularly since, COVID, how do you serve customers? How do you answer their questions? How do you give them confidence to buy? How do you ensure that you cut down on returns and all the costs that come with it? That really goes back to providing the best visual experience possible. And finally, just the sheer cost of doing product photography, being able to represent products that maybe have infinite different customizations to them, and doing that in a way that's cost effective and logistically possible is really a challenge for apparel companies. The good news is Threekit helps with all of these challenges, and answering these challenges were kind of built into the platform. So we help out from that end as well. And the two primary ways we bring visuals to life for apparel are with 3D configuration. So the ability to get a 3D model of the shoe, the shirt, the sweater, and then allow people to customize live in real time, using our 3D rendering process is really critical to selling customers on something that's really personalized and feels like their own. And then we also have virtual photographer, which takes those 3D models, but actually renders them in photorealistic 2D, which is almost completely indistinguishable from what you would get with, a luxury photo shoot. And we have both these capabilities within the Threekit platform. Again, this is super critical because it gives customers control of that design process. So we know that customers want to really explore the product before even asking questions or reaching out to a salesperson to get more detail. They want to be able to go as far as they can, get as much detail as they can on their own. They want to be able to design custom pieces, as we spoke about before, and really make clothing their own. And then also, being able to convey the detail is so critical in this category, to show everything from the quality of the fabrics, buttons, et cetera, and doing that with really high-end visuals is again, really important. And the good news is all these initiatives, having better visualization, having it on a really great platform, it increases ROI across the board. So we've seen increased conversion rate, again, savings on photography cost and the logistics associated with those, fewer returns by providing a better product experience and higher order value overall. So it's not just for the sake of having beautiful visuals. This stuff really matters and really has impact on the bottom line. So it makes it worth the investment. We're really at our best when we're partnering with companies that have specific expertise in certain areas. And that's where I'll pass it over to Charles to talk about their ERP that is really built specifically for apparel.
Thank you, Hillary. So I am not Paul, I am Charles, and Paul had emergency to handle this morning, unfortunately. So I'll take over this presentation very quickly if you want to go to the next slide. Talk a little bit about CGS. CGS is a global company, and you were speaking of experience, both of you, and I realize how old we are compared to you guys. Built in 1984 with hundreds of customers worldwide and a global presence in multiple countries. And that was done through really the experience and the trust of our customers to help us build a platform that is specific to fashion. And if you look at some of the names on the next slide, you'll see that 90% is fashion, footwear, or apparel. So our expertise comes from the tools that we offer these companies, where they can start the process to leveraging the different tool sets that we provide in the CGS Blue Cherry platform. I want to go to the next slide. Of course, you've heard the term coined multiple times, from design to consumer. We actually enable companies to go from an idea all the way to the e-commerce, and partnering up with Threekit and BigCommerce leverages all that information that is initiated in those systems as the end product that is shown to the consumer goes through lots of iterations before it becomes a 3D model or an actual sample. The next slide. It's hard when you can't click yourself. So to build that, we have a platform, and we use the word platform in a way to really bring out 4 components. One is the modules embedded into the platform that actually break the silos of the different departments within a company, including the open collaboration with suppliers, customers, right from one data point. The concept to consumer is defined by the different tools I'm going to show you, which actually are part of this specific presentation, where all the products that we bring to the consumer have gone through different iterations, and from the conceptual point to the design and virtualization of the item, to production, and into the hands of the consumer through the different sales channels that we support. Of course, very thorough business intelligence to help you identify and big changes in business intelligence right now to understand the consumer behavior as it's accelerated through changes in this COVID time frame, where understanding what and how we're going to deliver a new product is becoming more and more challenging. And of course, this is a large enterprise level solution which supports companies that have 5 users, 500 or 1,000 users. Go to the next slide, please. So this whole concept and this whole presentation that you're going to see today really stems from the design and the build of the product that is going to go through the different hands and different iterations to become a wearable product that has gone through testing, compliance, fitting, coloring, and all the real core physical aspects of the product. Because although it is going to be represented in 3D and is going to be promoted in 3D, thus reducing the time to market, it still has to be a viable product that fits the target audience after which you're going. From there, of course, we support the different channels to, go ahead, go to the next slide. And that is going to be done through the B2B platform, and eventually the B2C platform and the POS platform. So go to the next slide. What we have delivered with the different years of experience, and you can read this slide, is really the flexibility, the collaborative aspect of sharing information from one data source to internal users, as well as direct to consumers, to buyers, and to the suppliers who are going to manufacture the product, and keeping everyone transparent and keeping everyone responsible for the piece that they need to deliver in a timely manner. I think that's a little bit of a wrap on the Blue Cherry and CGS entity. Svelta, you want me to introduce the demo?
Yeah, if you wouldn't mind, Charles, that'd be great.
Great. So what you're going to see today is how and what type of information travels from which system to which system. And you can see it's almost a pyramid or circular. Every system needs to communicate back and forth information in order to make the product as easily configurable, sellable, findable through the different searches and the different SEO components to bring consumers to your site. The Blue Cherry Next PLM is the focal, if you want, information capture tool where the different departments are going to collaborate to build and deliver the asset that Threekit will consume, will enhance, and make available then to the BigCommerce platform so it can be displayed in all its glory and all its lighting and things that are making it very attractive to the consumers, but also carry all the core information. So in this case, the PLM is used like a PIM, where we identify, for example, when we talk about configurability, we need to provide the configurators, in this case Threekit, all the components that the designers have agreed are necessary for that product to be configured in different fabrics, with different collars, different sleeve lengths, etc. Because the configurability, and Hillary hit it on the nose, allows you to build multiple instances of the same product without really having to go through the sampling process. So the virtualization in 3D and the ability to visualize all those components on a 3D model really reduce the cost of the product development, and I think provides designers, merchandisers, buyers, consumers with a pretty close view of what they are going to commit to and what the item is going to look like. And that is again transferred to BigCommerce, where we reduce the data entry, as most companies will bring the marketing departments into the PLM to add all the information that makes the product stand out on the e-commerce platform so that it can be sold to the consumer. Then the BigCommerce platform will take the orders, send the consumer information to the ERP component of Blue Cherry, which will then provide order fulfillment, handle the payment information, etc. So 3 tightly integrated systems with bi-directional API-based communication and the ability to flag. And if you want to go to the next slide, I can just speak very quickly to that, where as it begins here, you can't really tell there, but there are actually some check marks that tell, that allow PLM to tell Threekit, my data is ready for you. And on the check mark, the data flows into Threekit, and there it is enhanced. And the same is true for the BigCommerce check mark, where we actually check from here. And all the information that we've identified to be required from the e-commerce platform will flow directly from the Blue Cherry Next PLM to those 2 systems. And I'll let Threekit now demo their piece of the product to show how that goes live in a Threekit component.
Thank you, Charles. So yeah, let's get started with the demo.
Great.
Phil from our team is going to go ahead and get that started.
Perfect. Thank you, Svetla and Charles and all of the other panelists and obviously everybody for attending. My name is Phil Bradison. I'm a member of the solution engineering team here with Threekit. Just my background, I've been helping companies solve their product configuration and other types of enterprise challenges like for about 9 years now. So what I wanted to do today was walk through, just to kind of start off, maybe give you guys a sense of what it is exactly we're talking about, right? What is advanced visualization? Why is product visualization important? And obviously, how do we work with partners such as CGS and BigCommerce to kind of bring all of these things together into a cohesive and coherent experience that users love. And then from there, after I walk through one or two of those, I'm gonna actually show you how we do it. So it's not just about the end result. Obviously, it's really about the journey and how you get there and how you manage it moving forward. But essentially, what has happened, if you just kind of take a high level look at what's happened over the last, I don't know, 10 years, maybe even longer than that now. We've been trained, right, to need high quality visuals. I'm sure there's people right now on this webinar listening to me who are on Facebook or on Twitter or on Instagram or something like that, probably sifting through a feed with hundreds or thousands of different visual things, right? Because that is what typically appeals to us. And so over the last, number of years, consumers have become accustomed to this and begin to expect that level of immersive engagement. So, at Threekit, what we do here, our sort of part in this overall holistic experience is really to make sure that you can create as many visuals as you need of all the products that you have, and as many in as many combinations as they come in, right? So you can think here, obviously this is, kind of an extreme example, but we have a custom suit that can come in, literally thousands of different variations. So physical photography, traditional means of creating these visuals is simply not feasible in situations like this, right? We're talking about, thousands of photo shoots. That problem never goes away. And with Threekit, what we do is we take an approach that kind of solves these problems for our customers in a long-term way and in a way that, gives them high quality results. Kind of moving along here, right? It's not just about high quality visuals, but it's also about the experience. This is where we start to talk a little bit more about how different components of the e-commerce experience kind of come together. So in this case, Lindsay Scoggins has a studio that you go through if you're going to buy an engagement ring or something along those lines, where you can kind of walk through a guided experience, right? You can see what the product looks like. Here in this case, they're showing a really low res representative view of 3D. Right? You can kind of get a sense of what it's going to look like, what the shape is going to be. But then at the end of it, right, as we go all the way to the end, we can see exactly what that product is going to be, right? So, here, this is maybe a more creative approach, but again, with visuals, it's going to be kind of plugged into a variety of different areas of the business. And so to bring something like this together, you need obviously the visual elements, but you also need to have a platform and a tool that will let you build these things and manage them over time. And so that's kind of where BigCommerce and companies like CGS would come in. So that said, again, I don't want to make this just about showing you kind of the end result. We have a lot of examples on our website, and I'm sure you can probably find some more. What I want to do is focus more on the journey, right? So here we're logged into the Threekit platform, and I have a simple demo, just a running shoe. And when we are in Threekit, basically we're focused on setting up the virtual product, right? Now, to be clear, one of the things we strive for is to make sure our customers don't necessarily have to have 3D artists in-house, or you don't have to be a 3D artist to manage this. When you're setting up the products and you're configuring them, right, you're really thinking about these products in terms of products and not, anything like a 3D model or anything like that. Now, once we have this virtual product kind of defined, we can begin to do a lot of different things with it, right? We can create renders like you saw in the suit example, as well as the ring example. We can embed this directly, which is what I'll do now. And we can also do other more creative things like augmented reality experiences, Google 3D ads, Facebook has some 3D ads or 3D ad capability that are coming out, and a lot more, right? So really being able to weaponize these immersive capabilities is kind of our strong suit, but that's only one piece of the pie, right? Or that's only one part of the whole overall solution. So how do we bring all that together? So let me come over here to the BigCommerce page builder, right? Obviously, there's a lot of ways to get started with BigCommerce. This is probably my favorite way to build demos, frankly. It's a really intuitive, easy to use, drag and drop experience. It's easily extendable, so you can have your own either partner plugins like Threekit or even your own custom-made plugins. I won't go over too much here, but it's really neat. You can drag in obviously some of the most common elements over here, but then also when we are looking to extend the functionality of the platform, you'll notice we have these little widgets down here at the bottom. And in this case, we have Threekit. So everybody start your stopwatch because I'm gonna walk through the entire embed process of Threekit. So this is how you take Threekit and get started. So we drag the component, oops. And then I'll put in my little demo ID right there. Okay, and then let's go ahead and change the height because that's a little small. And then I save and then I publish. So with a couple of clicks, right, I was able to take the virtual products that we have on Threekit and now embed them live in front of you on a BigCommerce store, right? And there's a lot of other things that this enables you to do. Like these are configurable. So if I go ahead and I click on this guy again, right, I can say I want to show a configuration form, or I want to enable augmented reality. And so now extending the functionality even further is just as easy, right? Now, before I actually publish this, I want to make sure it looks good. So let me just go ahead and save it one more time. And let's go into a quick preview mode, right? Because obviously you want to see what you're going to be putting on your site before you publish it. So let's go ahead and hit preview. And so this will give you a nice kind of just expectation of the layout and things like that, right? You can go ahead and play with it in real time. So I can configure and customize our simple shoe here. We can also do other things like test for mobility, like how will this look on a mobile device, right? Maybe how will this look on a tablet that's sideways? That's always a fun one for people who are responsible for building e-commerce sites to figure out. And there's a lot of other tools I could walk through, but really at the end of the day, it's all about getting this out quickly and getting it out in a way that you can manage. So here we have our quick preview. And if I wanted to go now to the actual website, so here's the before. And if I go ahead and just simply refresh our page, and maybe I'll refresh it one more time. Oh, I forgot to publish. There we go. And let's go ahead and give that just a quick refresh there. And there we go. So here's our live site. I was able to take that virtual product that we had on Threekit, drag it into a BigCommerce experience using their page builder. I was able to, design some configuration settings like the ability to show a configuration form. And so obviously we're not totally finished with this page yet, but with just a couple of clicks, we're able to get about 80% of the way there. At the end of the day, what we're kind of striving to do here is bring together best in breed solutions that let you create kind of a competitive advantage through your experience. But with that, let me maybe pass it over to Hillary or Svetla, excuse me. And I think there might be questions, or maybe there's some additional information we want to get out here.
Awesome. Thanks, Phil. That was great. Let me go back to sharing my screen. So we're going to get into a little bit of a Q&A, but before we do, I just wanted to give a shout out on the screen. If anybody in the audience is interested in booking a free demo with any of the companies that were talked about today, the speakers' emails are in this slide, and we will be sending the recording after the webinar is over, so you will have this information, but feel free to jot the emails down. If you don't have any questions today or this week, they might be valuable resources for you sometime in the future as well. And with that, let's get into some Q&A. All right, Lynn is asking, does Threekit integrate with 3D design systems like Browseware or CLO?
Yeah, I can take that. So the answer is yes. In fact, if you're using one of those 3D design tools, there's been a lot of innovation in that space in the last few years, like Clo and Browseware, and I think there's maybe one or two others. You're pretty much 60 to 80% of the way there to being able to create these experiences. It's really about getting the initial 3D models a lot of times And if you have those, you're way ahead of the curve. With that said, creating them from scratch usually isn't a big deal. So most of our customers have nothing when they get started, but if you do, that's great.
Awesome. And then Lynn, 2 more questions from Lynn. Does Threekit have a list of platforms it integrates? And is this accessible for small brands under 3 million?
Yeah.
Go ahead. Sorry, Phil.
No, it's all right.
Lynn, we're very excited to answer your questions. We do have a list of platforms we integrate with. If you go to our site, there is a in the nav industries and integrations. That's the start of the list, but we work closely with all prospects as they come in and can pretty much integrate anywhere that we need to. Is this accessible for small brands? Yes, we do work with small brands. There's some information on that on our site about that as well. But again, we can scale this activity. So if you want to start maybe, even with a pilot with 1 or 2 pieces, potentially we can start there and then build out as you see ROI. We work hard to meet the budget constraints of some of the smaller businesses we work with. So yes, long story short, yes, we can work with small brands.
Awesome. And then last question, I think, Phil, you kind of answered this, but is Threekit compatible with other PLMs like Backbone PLM or Centric?
Yeah, so we take a very similar approach with integration as BigCommerce. So, essentially our platform is designed with a framework mentality in mind. So, plugging into BigCommerce is very seamless because they have that same, philosophy, CGS as well. But we do have plugins to a variety of other platforms. I'm sure Hillary can maybe send some out, or I think they might even be available on our website if you go there.
Okay, great, thank you. I believe this question is for CGS. Do you see the market moving more to e-commerce away from the traditional brick and mortar stores, or is there still an important place for brick and mortar stores to evolve?
Wow, that's a really interesting question in today's day and age. I think that there's a definite move to e-commerce, and I think BigCommerce and Threekit have made that reference multiple times, but I still believe that the consumer likes the touch and feel and fit on site. And I'm sure all of us are eager to get back out there and start shopping again. So I think that the future is going to be different, but I think there's a place for everyone, and all the brands that have understood that, who have organized their mix to be e-commerce friendly and retail friendly. The channels are just adding up, and I don't think channels are going away. So there'll be more and more channels. I think the key answer is that there'll be more and more channels as we evolve in both digital and the physical world.
Mm-hmm. And it'll be interesting to see how those channels connect the two together. Great, thank you. BigCommerce, how are you different from Shopify?
Yeah, that's a great question. So one of the ways we're different is that, going back to what I talked about earlier, being open SaaS. So we are a very open platform, and we partner very well with companies like Threekit and CGS, as well as a number of other solutions out there in the market. And so Shopify tends to be a little bit more of a walled garden. If you want to use all things in the Shopify ecosystem, that's great. It's a great fit for you. If you're looking to go beyond that, maybe try a different payment method, maybe extend the way the cart functionality works, or add some customizations, that's where BigCommerce really shines. And if you're looking to integrate with something like CGS or a more complex system on the back end, we have a very robust set of APIs with a high level of throughput for those, and it makes it easy to push and pull that data back and forth between BigCommerce and your back office system. And so the latency in uploading a catalog or doing some operations on the back end is much faster with BigCommerce typically than what you might see with Shopify, especially if you're trying to do things like provide this immersive 3D experience on the front end, maybe do headless in addition to that, and integrate to back office systems. That's where you may really see us shine. So I hope that helped answer the question.
Yeah, and then I'm curious, how easy is it for a merchant to launch their e-commerce store on BigCommerce? Is it just, a couple clicks, or is there a longer timeline to really fully launch it?
Yeah, it's really, it can be as kind of as easy as you want it to be. So for many folks, or for a majority or a large segment of our merchants, BigCommerce is their tech stack. So we have a lot of folks that are doing 2, 3, 4, 10 million a year on the platform, and BigCommerce is primarily their whole entire tech stack. And if you're using BigCommerce out of the box and taking advantage of all of our functionality, it's pretty easy to set up. So you could do that literally in a couple of days' time, depending on how complex your catalog is and if you have all of your product content and everything ready to go. Additionally, if you want to do something more complex, multiple brands possibly, more complex catalog, B2C and B2B, that could take 4 or 5, maybe 6 months worth of implementation time. And we've got a whole host of partners that are available to help you with that transition.
Wonderful, thank you. Let's see. For Threekit, do you have to be a CAD expert to maintain Threekit and work in Threekit?
Absolutely not. That's a big part of what we're actually trying to do. 3D skills tend to be very specific, right? People go to school for it. So essentially what we're trying to do is let 3D artists do their thing and their tools, and then simply give business users the ability to control those visuals in a way that they're used to. So the admin feels very much like any of the business tools that you're used to working with, and there's no 3D expertise required.
Great. Let's see, one more question for BigCommerce, and then we can probably give you guys 15 minutes back of your day. BigCommerce, I think that you can go on your website and launch the merchant, the e-commerce store, but do you need to work with an agency to do the implementation?
Yeah, we kind of hit upon this a little earlier. You don't have to. You can certainly do it yourself, but depending on the complexity of the build, we would recommend working with an agency partner. We certainly have some of our own professional services resources. These folks aren't hands-on keyboard. They're not going to develop the site for you, but they can provide some guidance and oversight and best practices of how to use BigCommerce and architect the system in the proper way. So it just really comes down to the complexity of your project. And you could do it yourself. You could also learn through BigCommerce training and become educated on our development practices, but you could also use a partner. So it all boils down to how complex is that build. For some people, they can easily do it themselves. Others, the build's more complex and they're going to rely on an agency partner.
Great, thank you. Okay, everyone, well, that wraps it up. I hope this was valuable, and we will be sending out the recording later today. If you have any questions, please feel free to respond to the email, and you can schedule a demo with any of the speakers today. So thank you all for joining, and have a great rest of the day.
Thank you, Zoltan.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.